Well, hey guys, welcome back to Raw and Restore podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie. I don't think I ever told you guys my name, but my name is Stephanie. Okay. So today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about something that's been a debate for a long time. It is social media versus college versus trade. What path shapes Gen Z and Gen Alpha? Because we know millennials and Gen X's. We grew up without social media. So social media was, I guess, coming up about what when the internet came out, like 1985, four, somewhere around there. And then when we could actually log on to something, that was like 1996, 1997 when they had AOL, dial up, and somebody picked up the phone, you kicked offline. But we knew how to do things without social media. So that means all the people who made it in the public eye and limelight, they had to grind for that stuff. They had to work. They had to put in the hours. They made a lot of mistakes. There was no blueprint or nothing you could go on and just make instant money. They had to put in the time and the hours. And that goes both ways, for trades and college and whether or not you're just going to come out and just be an entrepreneur, you know? I mean, now, flick of the button, click YouTube, you've got a YouTube page. You can do all that stuff. And that's good. It's instant income and it does help a lot of kids get through school and help them use that as income until they really figure out what they want to do. So I'm going to open up today talking about that. But first, I have a quote that I want to share with you. All right. The quote is education may open doors, but wisdom teaches you how to walk through them. And I also have a Bible verse from Proverbs 4:7. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom through it, cost all you have, get understanding. So you take that and try to follow along with me on what we're about to talk about. Because all of this, either way, you're gaining knowledge and gaining understanding. Whether you go to school, get a trade, or just come right off of social media. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is the choices that we're facing. Well, the choices that young people are facing, I should say, in the world of likes, shares, influences versus structured paths of college and trade schools. Because people feel the way social media is set up, they're the early influencers on social media where they tell you they remember when YouTube wasn't even paying. They did not pay them. They just put up videos just to get out there, in hopes that somebody would notice them. Again, it takes you back to the early years of grinding. Like you just doing something to see what happened. And then after, I guess they started to get recognition after a while, they decided like, look, we don't have to pay them. But they weren't even getting paid. They're getting paid now. Like you hashtag the best out of it. Half the time you are instant. Within 6 months, you are an instant, if that viral person. One video can make you viral. So that could have pros and cons. You 1 minute you viral, your algorithms are kicking, like everything's on up and up, and then it changed. That's the thing. Media stuff changes constantly. What may have been good last week may not be good enough this week, which is why TikTok has over a million different trends. And if you want to stay in the streak, you got to keep doing those trends to stay relevant. Okay. And like I already talked about the dial up now, and I talked about the platform, and I talked about how you can actually gain income because technically you are marketing yourself. You're marketing yourself, you're creating a business and digital products, and therefore gives you sponsorships, which is brand deals, right? But let's say, like how when I first started noticing YouTube, it was the thing that everybody was looking at was makeup influence, MUAs. I mean, I'm not saying nobody looks at MUAs, but it's the OG MUAs not even making videos no more. They don't care. They got on to something else. They doing other things. I know one girl, she was doing art, the Crispy P. She was doing art last time I checked her page. Carly Bible, she was doing music at one point. Um, Jacqueline Hill, she's doing other things in the background and businesses. Aaliyah J, she has a jewelry line. Like, so they didn't stay in makeup. Makeup was the platform for the next thing. And I think that's where a lot of Gen Zs and Alphas make the mistake because they see that they made it, their numbers look good, they're getting paid. As I said in the last video, you have you see them shopping on Rodeo, you see them getting the Chanel, you see them in the new car that's probably a Benz or a BMW, you see them in the big house, but you forget that once upon a time, nobody was paying them any mind. Nobody was doing nothing. And they couldn't even get someone to comment on their videos. Now, since they've been in it, they decided to really put their focus on this. Therefore, they made out on it. And they made sure that they closed brand deals, whether it was something they did one time, but they did it for a consistent amount of time, you know, where they would get paid for this product. They kept the product rolling. Like Carly Bible, she stayed with EH Cosmetics for a minute. EH Cosmetics is like a really, um, it's a good but cheap drugstore brand that gives you good quality makeup. It's not high quality, but it's good quality. And she stayed making palettes with them to get herself out there to make some money, along with whatever else she was doing. And Leah J was doing stuff with Pretty Little Thing and Fashion Over and Boohoo, like, and just keeping the money rolling in. And it's like you and that kind of thing, you have to know how to do everything. Especially you have to be very versatile. And I think a lot of people forget that. And honestly, a lot of YouTubers, they do go and decide, hey, I'm going to go to school. I might want to try school for a while because my that was my main goal anyway. And they do leave the spotlight to start school. I mean, Demo did it. She was on there for a while, made music, went on tour and everything. Now she in school to be a doctor. The goal is to have standing, lasting income. And doing things like that on social media, that doesn't guarantee you income. After a while, your algorithm will fall. And it could be that or you just tired of doing this. So I think the kids now, they're so focused on getting paid, getting money. And that's fine. Like I said, YouTube has helped a lot of these kids go through college or whatever. But I think people focus so much on things and stuff they accrued while doing YouTube. They're not even focused on the fact that YouTube is a temporary stepping stone for them. Just so they can support themselves because they got bigger dreams. And people make it seem like on social media, if you decide to do school, what you want to go to college for? Why wouldn't you want to go to college? College may be for you. You may go to college and major in something and enjoy it. It's not about being a millionaire. It's about doing what you love to do. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm really tired of social media putting that influence on these kids. Cause a lot of these children may have had the mindset to go to school. And now they say degrees don't mean shit. First of all, last time I checked, when I was online applying for different stuff, whether it's the federal or some other jobs, some of them still want a lot of them still want a college degree. And don't let nobody tell you you can't get you shouldn't get a college degree. I mean, okay. And there's cons of going to school. Going to school takes 4 years. Well, the average time frame is about 5.5 years now. So you have 5.5 years to go to school. And then when you come out, you have debt. But the debt is not always something you have to get. I mean, you can apply for scholarships. You can go down to your local library, and every library has a book full of scholarships. Crazy scholarships I never heard of. Scholarships where if you write, you can write with your left hand, although you right-handed. They give you thousands of bucks. People not putting in that work. You got to put in that work and go down here and get these scholarships. Nobody wants to write an essay. They want ChatGPT to do it. No, get there, write them essays so you can get your money. It's so much money. You by the time they give you so much money, like grants and scholarships to undergrad, half the time they don't even take the loan money. They send it back if it's a certain amount. And therefore you create no debt. Keep your GPA above 3.5, you always gonna get a free ride. I mean, if but that's something again, putting in the work, putting in the grind, staying focused. So that's something that people need to understand because college also allows you to expand your knowledge, critical thinking, and you can network. Because I remember when I was in college, Facebook was only for people in college. I think it was done by some kids at Harvard or something. I don't know about who made it, but let's just say. But I know only people in college had access to it. And it wasn't until about 2010, 11, they made it accessible to everyone. It was really, Facebook was originally built for college kids for networking purposes of getting out of college and finding a job and getting somebody to look at your resume. That's really what it was for. It wasn't for what's all on there, hell on there now. So, that's another thing. You do get a lot of networking opportunities in school. In colleges, career fairs come quicker to a university and a community college than they do setting up a career fair in like a rec center or something because they know for sure we go to this campus, we're gonna get an overflow. Everybody gonna be asking questions, everybody's gonna at least talk to 20, 30 people during that day. Um and also the you have access to um job security through alumni network. See, like I'm an alumni, paper dues, but I didn't really inquire about nothing else. So I kind of just slide them a little money when I can, and I kind of just back out. But I didn't know that part, so that part was interesting to me. But as I say, the cons is money and student loan debt and rising tuition, and not all degrees guarantee a job. But it depends on the kind of degree that you have because this is the thing. When I got to college, I used to think like that too. Like, what's the point? What's the purpose? But when you get to college, a lot of times, if you have a bachelor's and you go and you applying for entry level job or no, not entry level job, a job at like the library, you don't know, you're not ready to work yet. You just want to get a little something for right now to pass the time. You're overqualified. Even now, if you have a career and you want to move on, or you want not move on, but you want to take a step back, say, I'm a federal employee, so you if you're like a grade 9, but you see this job is gonna push you back to a 7, but it has more opportunity to climb the ladder or whatever, where you can go from a 7 to an 11 or something like that. A lot of times, even though it says that, they looking at you like, okay, if we give this person this job and they an 11 and they already a 9 and they go up to an 11, cutoff is an 11. they're overqualified at this point, and they're going to be looking for the next thing, and then the time will be ticking for them to leave. So a lot of time they do look over those. They're like, "Nah, we want someone where they can come in perhaps a grade 5, and we can keep them for a little while." So certain things do overqualify you, you know, and try and with your degree. I mean, I didn't have a problem with my degree. My degree was business, and I went into my job and I crunched numbers all day and stuff. So I didn't really have a problem finding a job. I was one of those people that found a job. Literally, I finished on a Friday and I got a job Monday. My job started Monday. So I didn't really have that issue, you know. You just got to, for me, because I'm a business major, there's so many opportunities for business out here that I don't, anybody I graduated with, I never saw had problems with finding a job. So, I guess you would probably have problems if you are or not even a social worker. Like maybe if you do something in communications or something, it may be hard for you to find something. I do see that being an issue. Um, yeah. And also the last thing is something I even experienced, financial independence. Yeah. So when you're in college, you are financially dependent, even though you can be an independent student because you're possibly still living at home and you can't really afford to live on your own. But people need to remember these are temporary things, all right? Because nothing lasts forever. Remember the quote I just gave you earlier. Education may open doors, but wisdom teaches you how to walk through them. So you need to understand that although school may hold you back a little bit with being financially independent, but the bigger picture is that when you finish, you get this job, you will be completely independent and you won't have to take steps back unnecessarily because your algorithm isn't working or the brand deals found someone better than you and they decided to give them the deals and you're no longer with them anymore, or you messed around and did something crazy and they had to drop you. So you got to think about that. And I'm going to tell you real story, real testimony, real testimony. I had my oldest when I was in school, when I was in college. When I found out about her, I was 23. Her father was 22. And by the time she was born, I was 24 and he was 23. And I was close to being done and I had to take a semester off. And I got pushed back a year and a half because I had a couple things to do. And plus I changed my major for a few times. So I still had a couple classes to take. Um, but I say all that to say that even though I did have a temporary thing that, shifted everything, and I don't consider her a setback or nothing. I love my baby, but it made me look at things different. And it made me look at things that made me really see that things don't last forever because I kept my eye on the prize. No matter what was coming my way, I kept my eye on the prize. I didn't have the money I wanted to have. We literally we shopped at the outlet malls because that's all I could afford. My little student refund came and we just shopped at the outlet malls. And we had literally, I had 3 pairs of shoes. She had 3 pairs of good shoes. And all her other little kicks came from the children's place. And she had one coat, which was a 4-in-1 from Carter's. So it had a spring coat inside. There was a winter coat. You put it all together as one. It was like, no, you took out the line of the spring coat and it was like a fall coat. But then when winter came and I put it back in there and it was real warm. And then it was her winter coat. So that show was versatile. I bought one of them every single year. And so I had one coat and we were set. Long as we had something to keep us warm and something to keep us new clothes to put on every single day, I really did not care about the other stuff. But sometimes I got a little sad. I'm like, I just want this to be over. And I was on everything system related except for food stamps and housing systems because I was still living at home. But we had the state assistance, we had the daycare vouchers, we had WIC, but I kept my eye on what was important. This is a temporary thing. And do you know, by doing that, I got the job that I have now. I remember when the job announcement came up, it was June 2010. And I was like, I'm gonna apply for it. And I did not think nothing of it, them even calling me back. And they sent me and they was like, we want you, you're highly qualified. I'm like, get out of here, I'm highly qualified. And so I went on and they made me do like an online test and I had to complete the online test. Then I come in for an in-person test. I passed both of those, but it was something I had to fix. Um, and it was taking a long time to fix. And by the grace of God, I went down to the office and this lady had sent the email over to the hiring department. 'Cause the lady called me. She said, "Oh my God, I really want to give you this job, but we need you to fix this issue." And I was like, okay. So when I went down there and the lady sent the email, at first I gave up. Like I was down there and I was like, it's nothing that they can do. I'd walk out the door and something was like, no, turn around, go to the lady at the counter. I went to the lady at the counter and she was the one to send the email over to the hiring department and they called me that I went down there on a Wednesday. They called me Friday and was like, "Do you want the job? This is how much it's paying. This is how much you gonna make a year, and you gonna start. There's a class in November. At the end of November." I said, "Okay." And then I was like, "Oh my God, how I'm gonna do my last semester and work a full-time job?" Because I still had two classes left. And I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And I just was like, "The job is mine. The job is secured. Jesus got me," and things like that. And the lady called me back. She said, "There's been a change. That class has been pushed back to December 13th, which was Monday after I finished on that Friday, the 10th. I finished December 10th, 2010. December 10th, 2010, and started my job December 13th, 2010 on a Monday. Tell me God ain't good. Tell me he's not good. And because I just knew it was like it was like a block, a block, a block, a block, and not, and then boom, I was walking into a job. Full benefits, retirement, life insurance, everything, you name it. And I've been there ever since. I mean, the job gets on my nerves sometimes. I'll be honest. There's certain things that do get on my nerve with things changing, but other than that, I'm always truly grateful because I could have been unemployed without. But I was worried about, I remember before I got the job, I was just like, please, God, please, like, I need this job. I have to continue paying my daughter daycare. If I don't have this job, I won't be able to continue paying my daughter daycare. Like, and she's gonna have to lead a son, and I really love this son for her. She's learning so much, and I'm like, I just need to get this job. Like, and he came through, and I had the job. That's what I'm saying. Keep your eye on the prize, and everything isn't easy. Nothing is going to be easy. I think Michael B. Jordan said that. Nothing is going to be easy. And people give up. He's talking about people giving up right when they get to that, right when they're about to get it. You can't do that. You got to keep going. And that's what I mean about social media. Everybody's so quick to make a dollar that they willing to just do whatever on social media, look like complete idiots, just so they can get 10,000 views or like on TikTok and they start paying you, or you get over um a certain amount of whatever's on YouTube or wherever social media platform and they'll start to pay you. I mean, that's good, but you also got to put out quality stuff so you'll have a longevity in this. Like those OGs I mentioned, although they don't post, as soon as they post on social media, everybody watching them because we know we're gonna get something of good quality, and they're gonna give a good quality stuff. When they disappear like that, people may have thought that, they left social media and it's hard to disappear. And they don't disappear for like 3, 4 months. Come back, everybody watching them. Because of the audience they built. You have to build a good audience. And another thing, to build a good platform, stop putting out this negative mess and stuff. I mean, really stop putting out this negative stuff. Like, um, if if man ain't nothing, you gotta do this. And if he did that, I mean, it's a this thing is motivational. and inspiring, and I'm sharing my story with you so you don't make the same mistakes I did. This is what you should look for. If you see these, more than likely it may be this. I'm not saying it is, but just so you are aware. Keep your negative relationships off the internet. Like people don't want to hear that. And that's starting to brainwash the kids too, because it trickles down to all of them want to have children and no man. I'm not saying marriage is the end game. Okay, I ain't say that. But I'm saying as a single mom, I too thought that we had these kids and you were going to come and do your part. Everyone says that in the beginning, and you don't. This goes beyond the gender reveals that I see that be overly done and the big fancy baby showers that be overly done. You gotta raise this person. This person is going to possibly get on your nerves. It's gonna be times when you're gonna walk away and remember, like, that's my child. It's my child. It's my child. They don't know no better. There's times they're gonna test you to the point that you're gonna feel like you ain't sometimes built for this. And you have to, in order to be successful at parenting, you have to be completely selfless. That's the only way you're gonna make it. You gotta be completely selfless. It's gotta be times where you are willing to not spend the last whatever money you have on yourself because they might need. It's power of selflessness. Knowing that if they get sick, you gotta stay home. Knowing that when something comes up at the school, you gotta show up. Knowing that if they don't feel their self, you gotta be willing to listen. Knowing that when you can no longer help them, you got to send them for to get some additional help from therapy. And and always there and showing up in their good moments, not just their bad moments. And you gotta understand sometimes their good moments are gonna land on things that you particularly want to do. And that's what I'm saying. Social media give this thing where you take this, you had this kid, but we gonna leave these kids with the fathers. Half of these men that don't want to be fathers will make themselves a Houdini. They will disappear. They will not be in the picture. If they don't want to watch that child, they're not going to watch that child. And they don't give a flying whatever what you do. They're gonna make themselves scarce because they don't want to do that. And you running around here chicken your head off, you getting online and you typing stuff and you saying your father ain't shit, but you knew that the father, and this goes for God too, and the mother wasn't shit before you had the baby with them. I know we're going somewhere else or whatever, but this all ties into social media. Social media is cool, but the content that a lot of times people put out is not always positive. And then these kids feel like, hey, I don't have to go to school. I can just get on social media and then have me a kid by whomever, and then that's it. That ain't it. That's why, honest to God, college is important because on social media, it's just you and your little bot, and you don't really go out and associate with people. When you go to college, you are forced to associate with people. It will break you into groups real quick. You have to talk to people. You have to engage. And it makes you a better person on communication. It makes you a better person on choosing friends. It makes you better prepared when you step into the work world. It makes you better prepared even if you decide that YouTube is what you want to do for real. It makes you it gives you the ability to be good and what is the word I'm looking for? Um Good and put out quality content that is relatable to people instead of this quick stuff. Cause now, I know every girl's in their soft girl era. How I'm in my soft girl era, but your soft girl era does not mean you tear down people. You tear down everybody. Soft girl means you are a sister out here trying to make your life better because you have experienced so much trauma in your life that you are now giving yourself grace, love, all the things you gave out. Software error does not mean he need to take you and buy you flowers. Software means that you are going to do it for yourself and you're going to be okay with it and you are okay alone. And if somebody is meant to be in your life, they are going to be there. You don't, you're not desperate for nothing. That's what I mean. That's software error. And a lot of girls ain't got it. But I'm just saying that that's what be on social media, and that's what people think they need to do in order to be successful. No, no, no. Now, like I said, the other cons, social media, when you do break the mold and you do go viral, then yes, you'll be featured and you'll have different brand deals, digital products, promotional ads, and things like that. And it gives you the freedom to be creative and self-expressive, but how to make it positive. If you do a story time on the time when you was in a fucked up relationship, talk, yes, from your point of view, but also give encouraging words on how to not do what you did. That's the big part with that. And that's not enough on the internet. People do their story time, they just do it for fun. I ain't talking about that. They just tell a little story time for fun. And that'd be fun too. But they not saying, yeah, you go out and do the same. They just saying that was a crazy time in my life. That was a crazy moment, you know? I mean, but it is what it is. You can't take it back. It's done. But that's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, sis. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, bros. That's all I'm saying. Anybody can be successful. And honestly, if you decide to do social media, taking up a trade or a certification in entrepreneurship isn't technically a bad idea. It gets your mind going. They teach you things on how you can reach that audience and what goes into those digital products, things that when you're just starting out, you don't know. So, yeah, you may want to do that. You may want to check that out. And you can do that at any community college, university, or whatever. Those are just things to think about. It's time to think outside the box and not just doing what you see because you see old homegirl doing it. No, 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 no. No, that's the whole thing of social media is free expression, being creative. And you have to make sure that you're creative and doing free expression. Okay. We talked about that. We talked about the income. Your income could just go. Yeah, oversaturated space. That goes with that too, because like I said, it's hard to if somebody else put. I mean, somebody could do the same content. Someone could have took your idea. That's another thing in marketing. There is room in the marketing world for similar, close products, advertisement, all that. As long as you're not using the direct name. And now with social media, you can use the direct name because hey, you did Fenty review, they do a Fenty review, and they may like their Fenty review better. They may have explained, they may have been more of a people person, they may have been funny, and you just were sitting there like, yeah. I had this lip gloss. It's my favorite. And it goes on like this is so smooth like butter. And because heard homegirl say it, but the other girl or guy give it a, a really good review go beyond that because they actually took their time to do it. And now their videos are recommended high viewers. So those are things you need to look out for. Um, yeah, I talked about doing both college because that is paying for people. So that's pretty much. I just want to make sure I covered everything, every little thing. I don't want to leave nothing out. So I'm just looking at my notes. So yeah, just if you do decide to do social media, just make sure that you are doing your path, you following your dream, your intentions. Don't worry about what everybody else knows. Follow your intentions. Remember, that's how the OGs they made it. That's how they made it. Time the Infamous. I forgot to mention, I forgot about Time. Time was known for wearing pink hair, loud color hair, cake face makeup, big, huge, embellished earrings, and all of that. And you knew if you went to Time, you was going to get a real makeup review. You was going to get a real review on some Italian shoes, and you was going to know how to color some hair. You know what I'm saying? You was going to know how to do all that, and you knew how to get a Barbie on the budget. She still does Barbie on the budget. She just doesn't call it that anymore. She just, but from where she goes, she still goes to like all the regular stores. Like I think the most recent thing she went to the Louis Vuitton to get the makeup, but I mean outside of that, she still shops at the same store she shopped at when she was starting to come out. So you want to make sure that you stay honest with yourself because you don't want to go above and beyond because that falls into the money. You buying all this expensive stuff, and then your algorithm goes down. Then what you gonna do? Just some stuff to think about. So you should always have a backup plan, contingency plan. That's what they call it. You can do social media, but I do recommend doing a trade of college. That way, if you just get tired of social media, because social media can be draining, it can make you depressed. It can just make you feel all kinds because there's so much going on. So if you just want to take a break from it, school isn't that bad. Especially if you don't have anything off the top of your head that you're ready to dive into. Not bad. You might like it. You may love it. You may stay there, you may finish, or you may be like, you know what? I was here and this is all I needed. Now I know the next thing I'm gonna do. Yep. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. And tomorrow I have a even more good podcast for y'all. Tomorrow, I'm just gonna say this, I don't know. Tomorrow we are talking about friendships. Yes, because friendships isn't talked about enough because I can look, guys are sneaky, but girls are sneaky but loud with it. And we're just gonna talk about how while we're healing, we pick better friends and how when it's time to let those friends go that you held on because just because you were friends with somebody for 20 plus 30 years don't mean they supposed to be in your life for 20 plus 30 years. They ain't supposed to be with you. And sometimes, as hard as it is, because friendship breakups hurt worse than manic breakups. And we're going to talk in the next podcast about how to know and determine and heal from those things because it's important. It's not enough. It's not talked about enough. All right. See you guys again soon.